In this video, we're going to go over how to play all the ability power comps. I've been playing this almost exclusively as much as I can, all the way to Challenger 800 LP, and I've noticed that everyone else, unless they're like the very top players, are playing this comp wrong. So I'm going to show you some of my games and pretty much just walk you through the entire process. But this is how I know people are playing it wrong. In the data, all the ability power carries, Sona, LeBlanc, Taliyah, Soraka, they're all below average, and that is a pretty big offense to me. But you know what? I actually hope it stays that way so people stop contesting me. But look at this. If you compare Taliyah and Soraka, which have play rates of 0.9 and 0.5, they average of 4.59 and 4.66. That is very bad. Compare this to Misfortune, which has a 2.11 play rate and a 4.37 average placement. That's a big difference. Same thing with Samira, 2.29 to 4.29. What this means is that even though Misfortune and Samira are highly contested, there are more than 2 players playing it every game, those champions are so good that it's still outperforming both Taliyah and Soraka despite only 1 player going for those champions. Let's get into the game though. So first things most important, you need to get tier on the first carousel. I'm not saying it's not possible if you don't get it, but it really just accelerates the power of the comp. So you play the early game kind of the same. You want to make as many 2-stars as possible. That's why we have this random Renekton here, but the units you really want to go for are the Gadgeteen units. So that's Annie, Poppy, Lulu, and Zoe. The reason why is because they just stabilize you really hard during stage 2 and they help you get a bunch of kills. The only thing that can mess up forcing this comp is bad champion augments early on. But this game we get the LeBlanc mirror image. That's probably one of the best ones, so we just go ahead and do that. But let me give you a list of all the ones that are at least takeable or really good. So support Lux, both the Poppy augments, both the Annie augments, re-energize from Wukong, both the Rel augments, Zoomies, which is the Yuumi support one, both Alistair, both LeBlanc, both Sona, and both Zoe ones are all takeable on stage 2-1. Of course, some of them are better than others. For example, the Annie carry one is a little weak, but it's decent if you can get Annie 2-star early. Again, we're just forcing the comp, so even though you don't get the perfect augment, anything that's takeable, you pretty much just go for that. But this LeBlanc one's probably the best one you can probably get. That and maybe like the Sona Power Grid one. But as you can see, synergies in the early game aren't that important. You just want to hold on to the units I talked about earlier. So since you're playing the Gadgeteens, Wukong's another great unit to hold on to because he gives you both Defender with the Poppy. And yeah, you just run whoever you have 2-start. It's the same as any other early game, but you can lose or win streak. It doesn't really matter that much, because not many people go for tier on the second carousel, and that's where the real power of this team comp comes in. So blue buff got nerfed recently, and maybe that shied people a little bit away from that item. So the reason why blue buff is so good is because you have so many different item holders for blue. I call these my blue buff bitches. So we have Taliyah and Soraka as we talked about before, but at 3 costs you have LeBlanc, Zoe, and Sona. At 2 costs, you have Yuumi, and at 1 cost, you have Lulu and Lux. So the only ones that you really care about a lot are Lulu, Sona, and LeBlanc, because those are going to be your early game item holders. You don't really use Yuumi that much, but sometimes if you get her 2-star, whatever, you know? But Lulu definitely better than Lux. All you got to do is just build the item and then put it on them, and then you just either win streak or save a lot of HP in the early game. So you'll see on this carousel here, we're probably going to get it. Even though we're low pick, the comp's not popular, the item's not popular, so you're probably going to get the blue buff. But we are getting hit by the Cho'Gath here. This guy's got Jeweled Gauntlet on Kale. It's unlucky that this person's going Cho'Gath, by the way, because we're going an AP comp. Cho'Gath gets a lot of magic resistance. So not looking the best, but you know, it is what it is. And we're able to clean up this round here. We're going to be probably hundreds. No, is this Kale going to beat us? Okay, we're actually not 100 streaking, but we just make interest. We have 10 gold. I should buy this Lulu in my shop. That's just a mistake by not picking that up. But let's look into what we can get. So there's a tier on Draven right there. Someone else ends up taking it, so let's just go for this Rod. Nope, Rod got taken too. I guess we could get a tank item. We could get the Chain Vest. Let's talk about items though. So you just need 2 tank items, Sunfire and Ionic Spark. And then for offensive items, you just need blue buff plus any 2 playable damage items. So what are those? Probably Giant Slayer, Jeweled Gauntlet, Spear of Shojin, Guard Breaker, Hextech Gunblade, second blue buff, Rabadon's Death Cap. I'd say that pretty much caps it out. I don't really like Archangels, but if you're forced to build it, you can. For other tank items, you pretty much can do anything. It's like Redemption, Gargoyle Stoneplate, Dragonclaw, Warmogs, Bramble Vest. I'm not really saying these in any particular order, by the way, because it really just doesn't matter what items you have. ZZ Portal, Protector's Vow. But yeah, pretty much anything like that. And now you might be wondering, like, oh, but if you had to choose which one is like the very best out of all those items you listed, because I said no particular order. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. Sometimes it depends on your game. So you just need some form of magic penetration, some form of healing reduction, and the blue buffs. There's only the three things you need. So magic penetration is Ionic Spark or Static Shiv. The healing debuff is Sunfire Cape, Morello Namicon, or the Sunfire board. And then you could do up to 2 blue buffs. You could do even like 3 or 4 blue buffs. There's so many people in your team that can use it, and you don't really have to rely on one carry. And again, the items aren't that important for the other 2 offensive items. So if you're going Taliyah, like if you're facing a set, maybe go like a Guard Breaker. Like Jeweled Gauntlet's always going to be good, but if they have Bramble Vest, then like maybe go for something else, maybe like a Giant Slayer if you're facing high HP targets. Again, it just really doesn't matter. You just need to slam the items as early as you can, just so you get more value out of it and save HP. That's really all you have to do. So you see here, like, we're kind of waiting on our items. We need the tier for our blue buff, so we're not going to slam Static Shiv. I didn't say Titan's Resolve was good, so we're not going to build that. So we're just pretty much just chilling here. We're going to wait to see what drops off of this Krugs. We end up getting a tier, a rod, and a sword. So now you can be like, okay, we got a lot of different items. And blue buff is the automatic build, and then you might be wondering, what's the second item? The choice for that is either Giant Slayer or Hextech Gunblade. So Hextech Gunblade is pretty good with LeBlanc because you could hacker her in and then she heals a lot more, so she's not as dangerous in the backline for dying. But Giant Slayer, probably the better damage item. So since we have a support augment, you kind of want more damage. You don't really need the healing as much, so I opt to go for the Giant Slayer. Also, Rod is a bit more flexible in terms of items you can build, whereas the bow, it's really only ever becoming a Giant Slayer, Static Shiv, or a ZZ Portal. So you might be wondering, like, why wouldn't I save the bow for those items? Well, if we get a belt, we prioritize Sunfire Cape, so we wouldn't build ZZ Portal if we got it. If we go for a Static Shiv with a tier, well, I might want that tier for a second blue buff. So based on that logic, the only item it can actually build in this specific situation is going to be the Giant Slayer, because out of the 3 items it can build, one of them I prioritize something else. The other one, it's kind of like not completely necessary yet, so it just defaults to a Giant Slayer. By the way, you might be wondering, like, who is the best item holder? For me, my favorite item holder, and it's probably the best one ever, is just Sona, but you use whoever you 2-star first, LeBlanc, Sona, or Zoe. We 2-starred LeBlanc first this game, so we're just going to use her. And you might be wondering on the augment choices, like why I was taking so long to think, because there's a Spellslinger heart, right? Well, Stand United is probably one of the best augments for this build because you just run so many traits later on. But again, Spellslinger, if you're going Spellslingers, it just has to be pretty good. It's just like, I just want to point out that's how good Stand United is in this comp, that even though I got a trait-related augment, I'm still thinking, because it's not that obvious of a choice. But another mistake I see people make on stage 3 is rolling at level 6. So never, ever, 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 ever roll at level 6 in stage 3. You might be thinking like, hey, when I play Kaisa reroll, I'm going for a bunch of 3-cost units. I'm going for Kaisa, Vayne, Rammus, and Cho'Gath, Vel'Koz. Why wouldn't I do the same for this build? Well, it's a lot different because one-star Sona, you won't win every round, but she'll actually stabilize you quite hard. So you don't really need the 2-star LeBlanc, 2-star Sona, or 2-star Zoe to like survive in stage 3. Whereas the difference between 1-star and 2-star Kaisa, 1-star and 2-star Rammus is actually pretty big. Another important part is that this comp relies a lot on levels. So we talked about how good Stand United is. Well, how do you get Stand United value? It's by having a lot of traits. How do you get a lot of traits? You need a lot of champions. How do you get a lot of champions? You need to level up. And another important part is you need to fit so many people on this team because there are like 50 different variations of the AP comps based on whether you go for Soraka carry, based on your augments, based on what types of champions you're hitting, whether you're going for Taliyah, maybe you go 6 Spellslinger, 4 Spellslinger, 2 Spellslinger, 2 Heart, 4 Heart, 6 Heart, 3, 5, 7 Star Guardian. Are you running Gadgeteen? Are you running Mascot? There, I'd listed a billion traits right there, right? Let's not even mention the fact that eventually you do want to run a 4-cost carry such as Taliyah or Soraka. So you just can't roll on level 6 because you just won't have enough econ later on. Obviously, this game we hit the LeBlanc 2 really early, so we didn't need to roll anyways. But even in games where you don't hit it, you just sack and wait until level 7 to roll down with. If you're running low on health, you probably lost streak the whole game, so you probably have pretty good econ. And I'll show you an exact example of that in one of the other games we're going over today. But you can level up to 7 on 3-5 and then roll it down there. You just need to be level 7. So that's really all there is to it. And when you do roll down on level 7, you will hit either LeBlanc, Sona, or Zoe 2. It's almost impossible not to. If you don't, it's just BG. And maybe you didn't have enough econ to do it with. Maybe you need to work on your early game to get more economy. But statistically, it's just like very improbable to not get that. But here, like, we're just chilling. We're getting 2 upgrades, right? I get it, like they're both 3 costs, but imagine if we had LeBlanc 1, Zoe 1, but we had maybe like an Annie 2. The game's pretty much the same thing. Like in this exact patch, I think I played like 20 games of AP already. You always get something. There's never a time where you don't get anything. And yeah, it might happen one game, and I'm probably gonna get one comment being like, "Oh, this comp sucks. I didn't hit anything on my level 7 roll." Like either you suck because you didn't econ properly and win streak or lose streak properly, or it's just an anomaly and you're too stupid to recognize it as such. Now, another very important thing. You may have noticed we hit a Soraka here. And another big mistake people make is they prioritize 4 cost 1 stars over 2 star 3 costs. I see challenger players making this mistake when playing this comp, and it honestly like tilts me over the earth because it's just such a silly mistake, and they're making it despite being at that rank. And so yeah, I see some people, they sell their LeBlanc here, or they get a new LeBlanc. So you notice how I'm rolling down and maybe I hit another LeBlanc too. Let's assume that I do. They would sell the LeBlanc on board, transfer the items over onto Soraka, and then play the new LeBlanc. Never, ever, 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 ever do this. Please, I'm begging you guys. Like, 2-star LeBlanc is so much stronger than 1-star Soraka, 1-star Taliyah. It's never worth swapping the items over until you properly upgraded your 4-cost unit. If I remember, I'll actually show you an example of me doing that exact mistake. And I don't even know why I did it, because I was on call with someone and they're like, "Oh, I'm playing the AP comp. Like, tell me what to do." And I'm like, "Oh, this exact thing. Like, never itemize your 1-star Taliyah," because she was like, "Oh, I hit my Taliyah in stage 3. Like, you just happen to get it sometimes, right?" And then she was like, "Oh, like, do I sell this to put items on her?" And I was like, "No, you don't. Like, you need to just rely on the Sona, because Sona is our queen pretty much, right?" And then I was playing at the same time, and then in that game, I put items on my 1-star Taliyah. I have no idea why, but I just did it probably because I was distracted or something. By the way, for items, we build the Sunfire Cape here. It's like pretty obvious. It's what we talked about before. But yeah, I committed the cardinal sin. And again, LeBlanc and Sona 2, they can compete with Samira 2 and Set 2 in stage 4. I'm not even trolling. Like, I face a lot of people, and on stage 4-1, after they do their level 7 roll down, and they hit Set 2, Samira 2, or MF 2, like any combination of those also, and I'm just chilling there with Annie 2, Sona 2, or Annie 2, Zoe 2, and I either beat them or lose by like 1 or 2 units, and it's just crazy how hard these units stabilize on the stage. And that's where the true power of this comp comes in, because it makes it really, really, really consistent. Let's talk about the augment selection for a moment, because we did skip over that because I was talking about other things. The options we had were Phony Frontline, Celestial Blessing, and Thrill the Hunt. So Thrill the Hunt, you don't want that, right? Unless you're doing full on committing to carry LeBlanc, I don't think it's that great. Celestial Blessing is decent. You get a nice shielding. Sometimes your backline gets hit by a little stuff, and then the extra healing definitely does help. But it's not anything to like gush over, you know? Phony Frontline, it's not the best either, but I think it's takeable because this comp severely lacks frontline. And in this specific situation, you may have noticed already, I have an Annie 2, Echo 1, and I have an Alistair 1 on my bench. I have the weakest frontline ever. That's why I'm going to end up taking a Negatron Cloak here too, because I just need more defensive items. But because I have no frontline, Phony Frontline sounds like a pretty good augment, right? In this specific game, I actually also took the Cloak to complete my Sona 2, because Sona 2, even with no items, can complement this LeBlanc and Annie incredibly well, and it just pretty much means I won't have to roll until level 8. You'll come to notice that most games when I play this comp, I roll at 4-1 on level 7, but this game, we're kind of stable, and I'm willing to lose a little bit of life during stage 4 just to get a even better guarantee of getting a 4-cost unit later on. Also, another good thing about this comp is you could pretty much use any legendary unit. So the best ones are like Nunu, Syndra, Janna, and then of course like Fiddlesticks, Urgot. So that's 5 legendaries. There are only 8 legendary champions, so you could literally use more than half of them in this build, which makes it really, really good. Again, that's why I really like pushing levels. So you either do some sort of like reroll LeBlanc Sona, or you push level 8, level 9 ASAP. And we're pretty chilling here. Again, we don't have the front line because Alistair won, Echo won. But once we get it, and with the phony front line, we don't need to rely on that as much. But you guys can just see right here, like, we're pretty chilling. This is a challenger game, right? Like, your lobbies are not going to be as strong as this. Maybe one guy who gets lucky will be stronger than some of these people. But, like, I mean, this guy has Soraka 2. This guy's got Cho'Gath 2. Like, these are pretty decent boards, right? And this guy also has the Cho'Gath augment, which gives him a lot of magic resistance. And we're just beating this guy. You know, he also has 0 gold, which means he spent it on improving his team, whereas we have 50 gold. We haven't even spiked yet. Is my team a little stronger than it normally is? Yes, because we didn't have to roll that much for it. But imagine if we just had level 7, 30 gold here. Like, we'd still have the same team. We would just have less gold. So we get a little worried with these items here because we have a Last Whisper that's buildable, but luckily in our thing we get the option of Jeweled Gauntlet or Guard Breaker. So that's when you need to scout and see whether people have Bramble Vest, whether people are running sets or not, because Guard Breaker is really good against that. We get our second LeBlanc too, but again, we don't have our 4-cost carry yet, so we're not gonna just sell her and replace her because we're still stuck 1-star Soraka. A lot of people ask me, they're like, oh, I can't hit my 4-cost carry, like what do I do? Well, I'm not hitting my 4-cost carry either, and we rolled a lot of gold on level 8. We rolled around, I think, 20 or 30 gold, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Unfortunately, like, I forgot we have this Negatron on my Sona, so we're just gonna build a Runon's Hurricane. There isn't much else to build. Our item option before on the armory was Negatron, Rod, and Belt, and since we had Bow, Glove, and Negatron, one of those items was always just going to be a bad one. So it's just unfortunate, but sometimes it happens like that. But I'm going to mention it again. We just beat a Samira 2. Now we're facing MF2, Zac 2. Like, our upgrades are Echo 2. That's our big guy, right? Our 4-cost. And his MF is looking pretty good, but like, just look at this team. We didn't even hack her over. Against this team, we should have hacked her over, but this fight isn't even close, right? Like, we're just looking at it, and we have like so many units alive still. I guess his MF did clean up at the end, so we only get a 3-unit win, but she barely killed some of those units right there. And I guess it didn't matter because he got knocked out anyways. So here is a weird decision point. You may have noticed we got the Soraka 2. So do we swap the items over? You could if you want. I don't think there's that big of a difference, but this game I was like, maybe let me go for the LeBlanc 3, Zoe 3. It is a higher cap to get LeBlanc 3 over just like a Soraka 2. So if you're playing for first place, you go for the LeBlanc 3. We're at 57 life. We're second place in the lobby right now, so I can afford to do that this game. But let's say you are 10 life, like some of the other people here. Then yeah, sell the LeBlanc, swap the items over to Soraka, and call it a day from there. You may be like, oh, but we have 4 Spellslinger, like should I still play Soraka? And honestly, yeah, Soraka doesn't need many traits to be good. As long as you have good frontline, just like 2 heart and nothing else, and like I guess a mediocre admin, that's good enough, more than enough. But we're still going to itemize her now. We're going to get a Spear of Shojin off the carousel. You may be wondering, like, blue buff or Spear of Shojin, what's good on Taliyah, what's good on Soraka. Honestly, on Taliyah, they both perform exactly the same. On Soraka, blue buff is a lot better, but Shojin is still playable. Let's take a look at this guy's boards. Sejuani 2, Kaisa 3, he's running 4 recon. At least I think he is, because he's got recon crest and like a recon tome of traits or whatever. And like, I mean, just look at this fight. Even if he beats us, we're still chilling because we have a lot of life. But we just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unit beat him. That's like Kaisa 3, and we're running LeBlanc 2. Something is not right with this game, you know, if we're beating that. But you know what? I don't get to make the rules. I'm just trying to climb here. And we're not even trying to like roll that hard on level 8 because I definitely could have rolled more, right? Maybe go for the LeBlanc 3, but we could either slow roll or go 9 from this point, and that's really all we have to do. It's kind of like a waiting game. This guy's Viego 2, and yeah, it's just same result, just either a very small loss or a win. And does Sona actually clean it up? She does not. So we finally lost 1 round. The main difference, though, is that we have 50 gold, and that person had, I think, like 10 gold. So we're about to spike, and we're going to go on into stage 6. But we're going to slow roll. I decided not to go level 9 because I want the LeBlanc 3. If I had a good legendary unit to put in, then yeah, definitely level up to 9. But since I didn't natural any just by waiting, we're just going to pretty much just roll it down here. We have so much gold. Like, we have to hit, right? Like, it'd be very rare not to. But yeah, we're skipping over the Taliyahs. Don't really need it. We don't really need the 6 spell slinger. I'm going to pick up the Zoes, or at least try to. I should probably sell the Annies and just go for Zoe 3, but whatever. Annie's a little more important, but I should probably replace my Annie and put the items onto Echo because Echo's a little bit better. And I'm skipping Sonas, whatever, because I'm really just looking for the LeBlanc, and I end up not hitting. So a little unlucky. We could have hit Sona 3, maybe the Zoe 3 as well, but it is what it is. They're definitely less important. I mean, look at my Sona. She has pretty much no items. Look at my Zoe. She literally has no items. So you don't need to prioritize 3 stars of items or people you don't have items on. Unless they're tanks, because like sometimes you just want the extra tankiness, but even then it's not that important. Like I would make the same decision no matter what. But maybe I would have sold my Annies, but I would never sell like the LeBlancs, for example. I guess I could have sold Urgot. Okay, yeah, definitely sell Urgot. Never mind. But yeah, we win that round. We're rolling down a little more. We're about to just like turbo spike. Again, I should sell the Annies, whatever. We get Sona 3. Okay, whatever. But we really need this LeBlanc. Remember how I said it's like pretty impossible to not get? Improbable and impossible are 2 different terms. But I guess it's just facing this Kaisa guy over and over. He hasn't really improved his team. He's going to try to go for some other 3 stars, I assume, maybe like the Vel'Koz or something. But again, look at his Kaisa items. They're like very good, right? We have shields from Echo and Annie, so Guard Breaker's really good. Static Shift Rage Blade is like a classic combo, I would say. And then I get a little mad here because I notice he's holding LeBlancs on his bench. And then it's like, LeBlanc's not even a good unit at this time. Like, people didn't realize that yet. And he's just holding it, so it kind of bothered me. That's maybe why we couldn't hit. Even with him holding it, we should be able to hit because I see 2 Jax players being contested with each other and 1 person still hits. So we do have the Sona 3, so we could consider going for that. We have really good LeBlanc items. Not LeBlanc, Soraka items. She has like double mana. So we could think about switching here. And again, sometimes things don't go to plan. You have to mix things up a bit. But that's how life is sometimes. So we end up, our Ghost loses to this guy, but we end up beating him. Actually, no, he's still alive, 1 HP. So what item can we get here? We probably just want more damage items because we have so many carries right now. But unfortunately, not too many options here. So Shroud would be the pick. If not, Bloodthirster is pretty good just to put on any random unit for the shield. We're going to roll down again. We're just trying to turbo cap our board right now. We get to replace the Annie finally, so holding off on the Zoes finally paid off, I guess. Sell the Jax, sell that, maybe play a random Fiddle. We end up fighting and beating the guy's Ghosts, and then on this next shop we get our Nunu. We put the items on Nunu, actually, not the Echo, and we're going to duplicate this Nunu. It's going to be really funny. Just watch this guy. So we get 2 Nunus, and they pretty much follow the same path, so they're just like double hitting people. By the way, you may notice that people look like they get knocked up. It's been confirmed by Mortdog that this is just a visual effect. They're not actually stunned. It's just to get that tactile feel of knowing that the ability is doing something. So you know when they damage them. Because sometimes when they're like running around in circles, you can't actually tell when they're damaging people, but that's what that little bump is for. It's not a CC, it's just a little notification. You may have also noticed that we sold our LeBlanc, put the items on Soraka and our Sona. So again, when life gives you Sonas, play Sona. We get a ton of items here, or like a ton of choices. Shojin, good. Thieves Glove, good. Thieves Glove is probably one of my favorite items in this comp because you have so many people to itemize. So obviously we're in the late game, so we had a lot more items drop because we're in stage 7. But Echo, Alistair, Annie, Nunu, Sona, Soraka, LeBlanc, Taliyah. Like, there's so many units you need items for, and even like the random legendaries. So getting a lot of Thieves Gloves, like Band of Thieves, is really good. But yeah, this is a bit of a long fight because We both had such high health, but you guys can see the two Nunus just clean up really nice and well. That's how you like kind of cap out your board, either like with Syndra's or with Nunu, or just the classic Urgot Fiddle comp that we see in every single build. There are just so many ways to cap out the comp, which is really nice because you don't have to rely on one specific legendary. Like Laser Cores, they have to go for Mordekaiser too. Aces, same thing, Mordekaiser or like Leona. But we just have so many options with this build. Like Syndra does the same thing as this Nunu if you get like good stuff on your bench. And yeah, he's just kind of mowing everyone down and we get the quick dub there. Game 2 is going to be a hyper accelerated game and you'll see why in just a second. But we go for the tier here and you may have noticed tier's starting to be contested now. It wasn't really contested that much before. I don't believe we even got it. We end up going for a rod instead. As much as I love the tier start, a lot of people are doing it now as well. So you don't always have to get it to still play the comp, and you'll see why in just a moment. We get the generic Gadgettine start so far. We don't have 3 Gadgettine yet, but that's okay. And in this case, we only get 1 other item component, so we actually have a lot of gold. This is when you take Rich Get Richer, and it just completely accelerates your game. It's going to be rough at the start, I'm not going to deny that, but with gold drop from the neutral round and from this Rich Get Richer, we're going to do what's called open fording. So we just sell our board until we get to the interest threshold. This case, it's 30. And we're just going to get rocked every round. But that's fine. Like we take a 4 unit loss here. We end up getting a Lulu 2 because we stayed low level. Just complete that. Throw in a random other unit, probably the Rel here. Get rocked for a 4 unit loss again. So we're going to be at around 84 life right now. Next shop, we're going to make it all the way up to 40 gold by selling a bunch of things. Probably the Yasuo Talon and the Galio. And then we'll just play the double rel. We face a preparation board, which isn't prepared yet, so we end up killing a couple units here. We only take, I believe, a 2 unit loss, and that's perfectly fine by me. You know, we want to take 1 unit losses every single game, but life doesn't always work out that way. So again, you don't need to perfect loss streak. You don't need to 1 unit loss every time in order to open fort. On this carousel here, we get a little unlucky. There's a tier, but it's on a 1 cost unit. So there's only 1 cost unit on this carousel. And really unlucky. But you know what? It happens. We're going to make 50 here. We're facing a Sunfire board with 3 2-star units, one of them being a Sivir 2, so it's looking like a 5 unit loss. Again, we're not that concerned because we know we're going to turbo spike later on. Are we able to kill this Wukong? We are not. So yeah, we are low. We're going to be at 70 right now. But it's not the end of the world. Because we have Rich Get Richer, we could stay at the 60 gold threshold now, and we just get an extra bonus gold because of the augment. We end up taking a beautiful 2 unit loss here, which is more than welcome. So we're going to be at, I believe, 66 life. But because of how much gold we have, the spike we're going to get at level 7, and you guys can take your bets now on when that's going to happen, is just going to be humongous. One important thing is you don't want to lose to Krugs, so just level up here. We'll be at 69 gold, hopefully round up to 70. And then we end up getting dropped a double glove. So a lot of people are like, oh, should I build Jeweled Gauntlet? It is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. We live in a free country. You could do whatever you want. But for me, I love Thieves Gloves in these AP comps because you have so many different people you want to itemize, and Thieves Gloving someone just saves you a ton of time. We hit a Taliyah here, but honestly, that's not even that great. Remember the cardinal rule from before? You do not want to itemize Taliyah 1 or Soraka 1. Only Taliyah 2 and Soraka 2 because they just don't stabilize you. But we are going to put the 2 Spell Slingers in so that we tailor our augments a little bit. And after getting, I want to say we got rocked here. Actually, it's a 5 unit loss again. Maybe it's a 4 unit loss. We'll finally get our augment, and then right after this, we're going to do a turbo spike because look at how much gold we have. We have 72 gold. We're going to get 7 from the interest, 5 from regular, so we'll gain 17 gold right here. We'll be at, is that 89 gold? So you could just level all the way up to level 7 and do your roll down on stage 3-2 and surprise a lot of people there. Really only the anti-augments we're taking there, so we pick her up, get the Gadgettines in, and then we have a lot of time this round, but here I was thinking, oh, do I go wait for 3-5 or do it now? So 57 life versus 30 life, big difference, right? You could wait till 3-5. I'm not saying you can't do it, but if you want to play a little bit safer, it's best just to kind of level up now and just go in and then roll it down because we have 40 gold on a level 7 roll down. When is that ever a bad thing? Almost never, right? But we still have to hit. So we're going for either Sona, Zoe, LeBlanc, the usual suspects that we talked about before. We have around 7 seconds left, so I do need to hurry this up a little bit. We hit this Syndra, and you guys will see, this Syndra actually completely turbo smurfs our board. We did not hit LeBlanc 2. We did not hit Sona 2. We're carrying the blue buff on the Lulu right now, and I wouldn't normally be this concerned if we were 90 health, but we are 57 right now. But just look at this Syndra. Like, this guy's Jinx 2. Like, he's not that strong, but he's got Sylas 2, Nasus 2. We really just have the Lulu 2. But this 1-star Syndra is just adding in extra units. And wow, like, look at how much work these extra units are doing. She threw 2 in right now. That's essentially being up 2 levels. So we played 9 units this turn. 8 if you don't count the actual Syndra, because you're like, oh, her ability throws other people in. And we were able to win that round. So you have to use like random stuff to kind of like stabilize you. If you don't hit the Syndra, we probably would have hit LeBlanc 2 or Sona 2. There's always something you hit that can kind of fix your board, and you just have to recognize each one in every situation. So we're gonna try to clean up the board a little bit. We still don't have a tank. What you really need in this combo are tanks. So I'm gonna keep donkeying because I need 2-star Annie or like 1-star Echo for Prankster, but I'm getting infinite pairs right now, and I feel a little cheated. I'm not gonna lie. We have Taliyah pair, we have Annie pair, we have Yuumi pair, we have LeBlanc pair, we have Sona pair, we have Zoe pair. Like, what pair do we not have right now? This is really unlucky roll down. I hope you guys recognize this because, wow. I've just never seen a level 7 roll down 40 gold and not hit a single 2-star unit. That's just near impossible. Luckily, the Syndra bailing us out a little bit, and she's going to throw 2 units in again because the fights in the early game last a long time, and because of that, we're able to sneak out another win and save our HP. Really big there. But again, so many other things can stabilize you. It doesn't have to be the Syndra. This is one of those golden carousels. I think we just take the tier on Sona. Seems pretty appetizing. It gives us Sona 2 and an item that she potentially likes, so we could do a duo carry with this. And then when you look at that, in our next shop, we get a LeBlanc 2 also. Is that luck, or is that rolling like around 60 gold at level 7? It's the rolling 60 gold at level 7. It's not luck that we hit that in our shop right now. But let's play some other guys. I'm trying to figure out what the best pieces to put in are, because do we want 6 Spellslinger? I don't think it's that required on Sona and LeBlanc, but it does buff them up a bunch. We just need frontline. We need Alistair. We need Echo. So we're just going to kind of chill for now. I want to keep the Star Guardians in for Syndra just so she gets more units in, because that's really what our tank items are right now, or our tank champions. It's just whatever Syndra throws in with the shield. This Annie is just like, doesn't even have Ox Force, so she's not doing that much in terms of tanking. But hopefully this LeBlanc's killing people, hopefully Sona's healing people up, and the extra units being thrown in, kind of being our fake tank line right now. And look at this LeBlanc just clean up this fight just like that. We are also being contested this game. This other person has the Annie augment, so he's probably going, he has like Lux Yuumi on his bench. He's probably doing something similar to us. Always keep that in mind. Whenever you play this comp, most of the games you play will not be contested. It's pretty rare that you are, but it's getting a little popular now, but hopefully not too much. All these admins are kind of whatever. We don't really care that much. I guess the killer one is okay, but that's not really what we're looking for. There's a Zoe too if we want it. I think it should be better than something, but I end up selling it. I think that's a mistake. I probably should have played it on someone here. But I just Thieves Glove my Syndra because she's like pretty much just cranking it right now. But that's the one trouble with this comp. There's too much you want to fit in. And sometimes you hit 2 stars in like a weird combination that it's like they don't work that well together, because right now we really want the Star Guardian in. So I don't want to remove the Yuumi, for example. I don't want to remove the Taliyah because that's our front line. In this game, you always want to balance a frontline backline, and yeah, we only have backline right now. We even hit a Taliyah 2 here. So again, is this Taliyah luck? Let's think about it for a moment. We rolled 40 gold or 43 gold on 3-2, and then we donkey rolled it 3-3, 3-5, and 3-6. Normally, you do that same exact thing, except it's on stage 4, and sometimes you do hit the Taliyah 2 at that time, and it's really just not luck that we hit it there. It's like pretty possible, you know? Getting this second blue buff on our Sona, okay, that one's luck. You guys can say it for that one. But on the Taliyah, like, you really can't say it, you know? But we're going to itemize her up. A lot of people are like, oh, why are you doing blue buff Taliyah? I thought it's only Spirit Shojin. They are actually very comparable items. So let's have a hypothetical scenario. Let's say Spirit Shoujin has a power level of 8 out of 10. Blue buff is like a 7.9. People don't realize that about Taliyah, and they just grief their items specifically just to get a Spirit Shoujin on her when a blue buff perfectly fits well with her. And the reason why you want blue buff is because it's not for Taliyah. You don't really care that much about her. What you actually care about is stabilizing with Sona or LeBlanc, and that's exactly what the blue buff did there. Item grab bag, uplink, and exiles. It's probably uplink here because we have a bunch of different item holders. It's pretty good value, and they all need mana. So we're going to level up now, and we're pretty much just playing the game a stage ahead because we are rich get richer. And after this, it's kind of like just any other game we've been playing so far. All we did was trade some life total for some gold, and I guess like using up the augment, and then just like that, you're like a stage ahead. So we get the Alistair, we get the Nunu. Nunu's honestly doesn't even stabilize us. You really just want the Echo 1 because it's just always the primary tank for any AP comp. But we don't end up getting him, so we're just running like a hodgepodge of people right now. Also, a lot of people like or don't like Nunu. I personally love Nunu. He is awkward to play because you need strong frontline with him, and we don't have that quite yet. But he's better than nothing, right? Because that's what we would have had instead. Nothing, because all our shops were pretty garbage in terms of tank units. We still are stuck on Annie 1 despite having her augment, but soon enough we'll get her. I also just realized we don't even have a single tank item. Normally you have like a Sunfire or a Ionic Spark here, but that just isn't possible right now. So we're going to splash in the Zac. Hopefully he does a little bit for us. This underground guy got a lot of Radiant items. That's a little scary. We're going to donkey a bit. We don't need this Acel. Unfortunately, we hit a lot of Acels. I guess you can complete the Lux, but we finally hit the Echo. I probably should fit it in over something. I just don't know who to sell for it. It's probably the Zac, but I just didn't see that play in time. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world or anything. We should still be able to win this round. I would lock the shop if I lose because Echo's that important. He's really the unit we've been rolling for. But who are we facing here? Sivir 2, Set 1, Rammus 2. We pretty much beat him here. He's got 50 gold, so of course we're going to be stronger. We have Taliyah 2, Sona 2. No frontline yet, but it's okay because our backline's just really strong right now. Also, Hat, not the best item on Taliyah, but you really just slam whatever you can get. What you want on Taliyah is like a Jeweled Gauntlet, Guardbreaker, Giant Slayer, maybe a Hextech Gunblade. But since we had the bow, I'm not going to build a Rage Blade on anyone. For items on this carousel, you have 3 options. We have the bow, right? You could go either Static Shiv because we don't have the Ionic and we need Magic Pen. You could go Giant Slayer, just a generic good damage item. Or you could go ZZ Rot. We're going to go ZZ Rot here. The reason why is because we have no tank items. So we just need at least one of them just to buy time for our Taliyah 2 to maybe cast twice. And then here we have to think a little bit. We could donkey a little more. It's probably just put an Echo. Also, I should not have put the ZZ Rot on him. I should have put it on Alistair or Annie. It's a small mistake. Like, there are some games where those tiny mistakes do matter. Hopefully it didn't affect me in this one that much. But we're against... Why is this guy allowed to have this board? He's got a Lux 1. I'm so confused. We probably took all his Taliyahs, but he could go other stuff. Wow. That is... incredible. Was he re-rolling and then he like canceled it or something like that? Maybe that happened. I don't really know, but he's just really poor and really weak right now. Next shop here, we get Yuumi and Alistair. We'll just hold on to them. I think we end up rolling down to 10 here just in case we hit the Ali 2. It's a pretty big upgrade. We also are looking for Annie 2, Yuumi 2. We had 3 pairs that we're looking for. Whenever that happens, you could kind of roll a little bit, but I probably overrolled. I should have just rolled down to 10, not all the way to 0. We do get another Echo, but again, that's like another tiny mistake, like a micro mistake. It shouldn't like affect that much of the game, and sometimes you just hit, you know, so sometimes you get rewarded. But we probably should have just rolled down from 14 to 10 there. This guy is playing Sona carry, but he's doing like hearts or something from True 2s and Lee Sin. That's a little weird. He has like Lee Sin 3 for some reason. I don't know if that's correct or not, but he's one-off Blitz 3, I guess. I've never really seen that before, but you know what? You can always experiment with different team comps. But luckily, we face him, we beat him, and we're going to go into stage 5 as like one of the HP leaders right now. We don't get too much from this dragon. We get the anvil, and we get a glove. So a TG would be great, a jeweled gauntlet would be great, a guard breaker would be great. So I guess here it's just jeweled gauntlet, call it a day. Yeah, there's not really too much decision making to be done here. But we grab that, slam it on Taliyah, and then we probably want a donkey because we're 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. We got a lot to improve on, you know? We end up hitting 2 of them. Not the most important people, but hey, we got 5-star Guardian, and now we just want to level up to level 9. Notice for the rich get richer thing, we really only use the bonus interest 1 or 2 times. Some people use it during like stage 2 or 3 like we did. Some people use it in stage 4 to get to level 8. This game we had to roll a lot, you know, so we didn't have the luxury to be at 70 for a long time. You definitely should not be trying to greed that too hard. This guy's going laser core. That's a really strong Renekton. Holy cow, I've never seen this before on this patch. But we have horrible single target damage, so we end up losing to this guy here. He's probably like one of the only people that can beat us right now. This next shop here, we get the Echo 2 finally. Again, we've been donkeying every turn, so we've been rolling a lot at level 8. We hit level 8, what, on like 4-2 or something like that? I don't even remember, to be honest. But we get the second Syndra, that's really nice. I absolutely love having double Syndra, like 1-star Syndra on board, 1 on bench, because if she ever manages to pull herself in, you just get like 4 units out of nowhere, because you could just buy a new unit, the other Syndra throw someone in, and then you just have like 4 units from those guys. It's really incredible. But yeah, and also like the more people that get thrown in, the longer the fights go, so the higher chance you have for your original Syndra to get another cast off. It's just really snowballs onto itself. We don't get the extra unit there because we ran out of gold, but we still get the win anyways. Next shop, we see Nunu again. It's whatever, we'll just buy it. Seems like people are living pretty long this game. It's like stage 5-3 already, but a lot of people are still in the game and like pretty high health. There isn't anyone at like 1 health or anything. I feel like the games go a lot faster. This person's committing the cardinal sin of itemizing Taliyah 1. If the items were on LeBlanc or Sona, I feel like his board would just be stronger. Even though he's kind of like dealing with us pretty well here, I still think it's a mistake. He's winning because he has like preparation and stuff like that. And yeah, sometimes prep does things like that, but actually, do we end up winning? It was a really close fight. We do end up winning. She crit on the unit's way out. That's hilarious. Here we want a tank item. The Inox Spark is probably the best thing. If not, the Stone Plate will do, or the Dragon Claw. I'm actually surprised the last fight was that close, but I honestly think he could have won with like some of the, if he itemized the different people. That's again preparation versus rich get richer. Like, yeah, I have a more expensive board. That's what my augment allows me to do, but his units are stronger. So there's always trade-off between every single augment. We're facing the laser core guy again. This is the Renekton that we just can't kill. If we don't have anti-heal, if we don't have like a Giant Slayer, it's pretty much impossible to kill this guy. Even if we get like a 5v1 against him, our only chance is maybe Nunu getting like huge snowballs or something like that, but our Nunu's kind of low health, so I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Is he? I forget if we win this round. Like, it's looking really close, because the laser cores just do so much damage. Holy cow. Okay, we actually won that one. That's good. Now we can kind of hope to go 9 maybe. I'm not saying it's like that easy, but we're pretty stable right now. We didn't really need to roll for anything else. Here, you need to make the decision of whether you want to play for like 3rd place or 1st or 2nd. If you want to play for 1st or 2nd, you definitely need to go 9. If you want to play for 3rd place, you just donkey roll it down. It always depends on how strong your opponents are. A lot of people, they make decisions based on what their board looks like. They never make decisions based on what their opponent's board looked like. Both are equally important, but one is often neglected. So you always have to be scouting to make those decisions. If everyone's looking really strong, maybe you should roll down a bit. If everyone's looking kind of weak or medium, then maybe you could greed. We end up getting an Alistair from here, which is huge. That gives us 2-star Ali. And then with the final item, we're actually taking so long to kill this guy because our Taliyah items are pretty bad. Hat's pretty bad on Taliyah because she already gets AP from Spellslinger, so it's not really that useful, you know? But hopefully we get something good here. There's a Soraka. We didn't have the best admin, so we don't need to run her. And then there's Zizirot. That's another tank item. So I'm pretty sure we just run that. Put it on maybe Alistair or something. We're going to put our Syndra next to our Taliyah and Sona because she has Chalice of Power. Not too many things you need to do for positioning. You kind of just put your tanks up front, a little spread out. You could group them if you're playing Taliyah. But in the backline, you kind of just group everyone out unless you have this specific chalice like we have here. Nothing too fancy, you know, like you don't need to sweat positioning that hard. There are like certain intricacies. You could like taunt people specifically with your echo if people are playing Sejuani or something like that. If you're against a hacker, you could put a dude in the back or trap your Taliyah. But because you're pretty much like an AoE comp, it doesn't really matter that much. Obviously, it always matters, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Uh-oh, this guy got Urgot too. We are facing someone who Samira 2, set 2, double declaw set 2, by the way. That's a lot of magic resistance, but also he has endless pizza and he's got hat fiddlesticks, but our team's able to kind of manage it. A lot of people are like, oh, Taliyah is so bad into set because she can't kill set. And I'm not saying she can. She's one of the worst units at killing it. But that doesn't mean you can't take a low unit loss. That doesn't mean maybe you luckily hit their backline and then you 5v1 them to get the win. Here we end up losing, but had we killed Samira early on, we could have 5v1 the set and pretty much just like ganged up on him to get the win. Another thing you need to think about is the probability of hitting your desired team composition. When you're playing set comps, you're looking for 4 ace. You need specifically the legendary Mordekaiser to run that. Maybe you're playing the sure shot version. You need to hit specifically Aphelios to kind of run the cap version of that comp. For us right now, like we do have a legendary. We're running Syndra. But it doesn't have to be Syndra. It could have been Nunu. It could have been Fiddlesticks. It could have been Urgot. It could have been Janna. You know, we have a lot of different options, and that just means our comp is much more consistent to hit. Also, they need set 2 Samira 2 or set 2 MF 2. For us, like Taliyah or Soraka 2, we would like them, but we don't need them. Sona does a perfectly fine job dealing with those boards. Also, like there are times where you just reroll LeBlanc 3, Sona 3. You don't have to play Sona or Soraka every single game. Then for our tanks, like yeah, Echo 2 is the best. I'm not saying he's not the best, but set comps, they need set 2. I won a lot of games or top 4'd a lot of games where I had Echo 1 because you have Annie, you have Alistair, and you have Prankster. You could also run Nunu, Fiddlesticks. Maybe you have the shield weather on Janna. There are a ton of ways to get frontline that just doesn't rely on one specific unit. So yeah, the set comp's stronger. I'm not saying this comp is better than the set comp, but it is a lot more reliable because you can hit a good board every single game. The set comps, you can't say the same for that because 1, you're contested, so it's hard to hit. 2, you're looking for one specific unit or 2 specific units. 3, even for the legendaries, you're looking for specific legendaries. But overall, there's just so much different things you could do with this board. Like last game, we tried to play around Nunu carry, right? We like had the LeBlanc clone on the Nunu, and we were still running like the same generic 4-cost backline, 3-cost backline in the early game. And then this game, where the Syndra is like kind of our MVP in stage 3, you know? There's always something different you can do. We do end up losing to this laser core guy, but you know what? He's got 2 Mordekaiser 2s. It's okay. Let's get into the third game. We actually end up getting the sword here. And we get an early Alistair. It's kind of a bait. He's really sucks in the beginning. But in this early shop, you could go the duelist start because we have the sword. We don't have to commit to AP quite yet. Also, none of these are the gadgetines. We actually get dropped another sword right now, but this game will show you that augments are more important than items. So we are going to still hold on to mainly the AD people because like this is looking like a sure shot game for sure, right? Like we got double sword bow. But then we get one of the best augments in the game. We get Heart Crown. So Curse Crown also really good, but Heart Crown, it gives you a Zizirot portal. What is Zizirot portal? It's just the best early game item in the game. The only reason why it isn't built much, also we get Underground. So the reason why it's not built much is because Belt and Bow build so many crucial items. But if you get the Zizirot for free, such as from Heart Crown or from, what's it called, Item Grab Bag or whatever, it is one of the best things you can ever get. That's why the augment is so good. And we're just going to play hearts, and we're going to start off with Underground. A lot of people have been asking me, like, what am I supposed to do with Underground? You can do all sorts of things with it. But you just use it for econ, you use it for items. It really depends on your health and what comps you're going. We're also going to slam the Giant Slayer because we need to build an item, and we're not building Deathblade when we're going heart, right? So essentially, that should be an easy decision right there. Again, nothing I do is like that complex. And what LP am I at? I'm at like 800 LP or something. It's like rank 110 or something like that. You don't need to do anything that crazy to get the high ranks. You just need to be consistent. You need to be reasonable. And you also need to like respect your opponents a little bit. But of course, if you do all the advanced stuff as well, like that's how the people push like top 10 or whatever. But you don't need to do that. Like 99.999, I don't even know what percentage, how many people play TFT, but like whatever percent of people like don't even need to worry about it. So next shop, we get the Lulus. That's pretty good. We don't need it yet because we're doing underground. The best holder for the Heart Crest in the early game is probably going to be Ezreal because one, he's an underground. Two, he like casts pretty often, so it's just really good. But we actually end up losing a lot of these early rounds, which is a little awkward because I was just bragging about how strong Zizirot is early game, but we are doing underground, so that's why we're not like completely turbo smurfing every game. So that's okay. We're going to go into this carousel. We're going to try to finish off the sword item. That's probably going to be a Spear of Shojin. Because we're first pick, we grab it right here, and we are good to go. We grab a KL2. Honestly, it's not even that big of an upgrade because like she doesn't use the Shojin well at all. You don't have to slam it, but I'm also probably going to try to play Lee Sin over maybe the Blitzcrank because he gives us heart. We'll also level up, that way we can have 4 heart. It's a bit of an awkward situation, but like we're just playing these temporary boards until we could get rid of these undergrounds. That's part of the weird part about playing undergrounds. You're like, I want to go for this certain comp, but am I supposed to lose interest by holding those units? And there's no set answer because it really does just depend on the comp. I know just depend is not the answer you're looking for because you're like, hey, I want to know like exactly what to do, but that's part of the trick with undergrounds. Like obviously if you're going for like a Samira build or something like that, it's pretty easy to hold on to the undergrounds because Samira is also an underground, right? But you also have to kind of tailor your augments a little bit. We're going to reject this heist or whatever it's called because we're going to be running Sona, so we could play underground for a while. Contrast this with the recon build where I love going underground. You guys have seen me do it so many times before. But we always take the first cash out whenever we play recons. Why? Well, the recon units, I know Ezreal's a recon, but you really just want to stabilize at 3-2 in that comp, so you don't have time for a second cash out. But because we're going for a level 7 roll down, so that's either on like 3-5 or 4-1, you could kind of time when you're going to get a big cash out. So assuming we lose all around, so 2-6, 3-1, 3-2, and we're at 1 cash out right now. So that's just 3 rounds of losing to get it. Of course, we win this round, so the timing gets kind of thrown off a bit, but you could kind of play with that just to kind of estimate when you're going to cash out. So instead of 3-2, we might cash out on 3-3. We get some big boy upgrades here. We get Vi 2, Lulu 2, and we get a Yumi. Again, it's a little awkward because it's hard to fit in all these units because we're kind of playing these useless undergrounds right now. So we get some great items here. Like, I probably would have slammed Shojin before if we had a real Shojin user, but since we get the blue buff, it's just always blue buff. And then blue buff on Sona. I don't care that we lost Brawler because the blue buff on Sona just gives so much value. Hextech Gunblade is also worth a slam. So if you built that item right now, I wouldn't be disappointed in you at all. I feel like that's a very viable play. I'm a little greedy because I'm doing underground, so I'm thinking there's not like that big of a chance for me to win all these rounds. I'm facing a very weak person right now. He has underground soul or whatever it's called. So obviously we beat him because he's like playing an even weaker board than us because he's going like underground, like 10 cash out. Well, I don't even know what it is, but he's going for something big. So yeah, we're going to beat him there. Then we get great options here. First aid kit, very underrated because Echo, big shielding, Annie, big shielding, Alistair heals, Sona heals. There's so much value you can get from first aid kit. I have some games from last patch with first aid that just completely dominated because of Sona. But because Luden's Echo, blue buff, we have blue buff already, you just have to go Luden's here. But you may notice, like, I'm thinking long and hard about this. That's what she said, because the decision isn't that obvious because first aid kit is just incredible value with this build. But the instinctual Luden's Echo, I ended up doing it anyways, but you always have to think about the other options because there are going to be times, even if it's only 20% of the time or something like that, where taking the other one is correct. If you just automatically take something, you just miss out on all those other 20% of times. We're facing the Cursed Crown guy. That's not good at all because we're Probably going to take a big loss here because he's just got a lot of units and we're not running a real trait. And yeah, he's got a bunch of 2-stars as well. Ezreal, Ashe, Blitz, Talon. They're not like the scariest 2-stars, but just having the extra units, we take a 5-unit loss right there. Not good at all. We get Yuumi 2 here. We also replace the Kayle for the Ezreal. Ezreal's just better. Since I don't have Sona 2 yet, I just put the GS on the Ezreal. It doesn't really matter. Like, Heart buffs up everyone. It doesn't buff up a specific unit. So I could always sell the Ezreal later on and then kind of swap to someone else. Also, like, I may or may not run Underground after this round because we could do the cash out if it's good enough. But let's think for a moment. Can we do another cash out? If we lose this one, we'll be at 1 out of 10. So stage 3-5, 3-6, 4-1. If we lose 3 in a row, we'll be at maybe like 30 health, 20 health, probably 20 health. So it is possible. And then we cash out, or we get the cash out on stage 4 too. That's with the champion augment as well. So we potentially could go for a triple cash out. It is risky, I'm not going to lie, but if you're comfortable with playing at 20 life, it's definitely something worth exploring. I probably should have taken the Negatron cloak on Annie here. I don't know why I went for the tier. You always need Annie, and it would complete Ionic Spark, so there's just no reason not to pick that. We end up doing the bitch boy move. We're going to go for the 2 cash out, but we do get a blue buff, and we get the Ionic anyway, so I guess it worked out, but I feel like in hindsight, it's better to do the other play. Especially since in this specific situation, as I was playing the game, I planned on taking that cash out. It just makes a lot of sense to do. For some reason, I'm still playing the Undergrounds because I don't even know why. So I probably should have just not taken the cash out and just waited for the next one. But the components I got were really good. Also, the reason why I took the tier is because I'm I'm like getting baited by the Luden's Echo. I'm like, oh, let me get as many Luden's items as possible just to squeeze out a little more value out of the augment. But I think you don't need to do that. We take out the hearts now. I sell the Ezreal. I'm going to drop like heart on a random unit and probably blue buff this Lulu here. GS probably goes on Lulu as well. I think she just does more damage right now than the Sona. And we'll replace her really shortly. And once we get Sona 2, you just auto sell the Lulu, put all the items on the Sona anyways. So you don't really lose out on anything there. Another thing you need to look out for is Heart Zoe blue buff, incredibly good, especially with Ludens, because she just casts so often and your whole team gets so much AP. It's a very good combo. If we get it, we get it. If not, like, you don't need it every single time. You may notice me like stressing that point so often in this video, like you don't need this. You would like this, but you don't need this. A lot of other comps, I'm like, you need this. That's why whenever people ask me generic questions like, oh, how important is best in slot items? By the way, we got 4 swords this game, I think, or 3 swords, 4 swords. That is super unlucky. So we're going to not care about that and still do fine. But yeah, like the only thing you need in this build is blue buff. That's really it. The tank items, like, yeah, you would like Sunfire Ionic, but there are other ways to do it. Like Static Shiv does the same thing. Like we have the ZZ Rot as a tank item here this game, but let's just roll down. We need this Sona 2 really badly. We're running 2 threads right now. This is so depressing. We saw so many Samiras, and yeah, let's see how we do. We do hit the Sona, so that's lucky for us, but what are these items? Triples, quadruple sword, because we already have 1 Giant Slayer. You could build 2 Giant Slayers, but I think it's Sunfire. If you built, let's say, Edge of Night Zeke's, I wouldn't even be that mad because you're killing the swords, right? This is just really really unfortunate. But, you know, it happens. You just have to deal with it. Also, you don't really care about Taliyah in this game because we're doing hearts. We don't really need the Taliyah to carry. Also, we have Ludens to do damage. This is where things get really interesting. So we're playing hearts. We should go Soraka, right? But you guys know how much I hate Soraka 1. So we're actually going to go for Nunu. Let's take a look at my Nunu stats. I've had 5 Nunu augments, and I went 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. So it's just so good. Like, I don't know why the stats are so bad on it, but yeah, I probably should have taken the first one, but I opt to go for the second one. It doesn't really matter. I'll be honest, this game was even a mistake. I probably should have taken the Urgot here because I have this double sword, so I could just slam Deathblade on him. But it doesn't really matter. Like, both the Nunu ones are great. The thing about the first Nunu one, and probably why I re-rolled it, is because I have so many hearts, The Nunu one gives AP. I already get so much AP from the Heart Crest or Heart Trait or whatever you want to call it that you don't really need the extra AP from Contagious Laughter. So They See Me Rolling is slightly better just because he kind of just buffs himself. But probably if you're playing completely correctly, it's just Urgot there to kill the swords here. It's just that whenever I play Nunu, I just always do well. I don't know what it is. It might just be a me thing. But other people seem to be struggling with it because according to the data, it's like a highly mediocre / bad augment. But we get the Gadgetines here. We need to get rid of this stupid Lulu, right? Just put the blue buff on Zoe, and I think we could call it a day from that. Yeah, put the damage items on the, what's her name? The Sona, Ionic on Nunu. I guess we could do Zoe. Yeah, Zoe probably does more damage because Sona kind of heals, so Giant Slayer better on Zoe. If we had Hat, probably better on Sona, but we don't have that. This guy's set 2, Viego 2. He's probably going to destroy us here. Unless our Nunu absolutely Giga Smurfs, which he actually does. Can you guys believe that? We beat this guy's board with the Nunu one here. That's how powerful this idiot is. The enemy unironically saw him rolling and they were hating, you know? So we need to kill these swords. We need to get Tier, maybe Rod. We also have this random like spatula that we could kind of use too, but no, we don't get the Rod, so we get the Tier. Not to worry though, we get a Shojin, we get more value on this Ludens. I just drop it on Lulu for now. It could be anyone though. We're really just waiting for Syndra right now. Syndra or Raka, honestly, like we still don't have Raka when we're running hearts. It's really unfortunate, but look at this guy. He's actually just rolling so fast. He's really just like a hardcore stabilizer. Oh yeah, the reason why Contagious Laughter isn't that great, because you compare it to the Syndra augment, and Syndra, she just gives AP based on how many units are on your bench, and this guy has a full bench, so you just get so much more from it. I think Nunu catches up like midway through a fight or something like that. Maybe it takes even longer, but Syndra just gets it from the start, so that's why she's so powerful with her augment. We're in stage 4 still though, so I do want to go 8 because you want to fit in a lot of stuff here. So, oh my god, Wukong 3. You guys know what's better than set 2? Wukong 3 is. But this guy's running like a goofy team. He's running supers or something. I don't even know. You don't really see this every day, but Wukong 3 is very underrated. A lot of people don't really reroll it, but it's really strong. Is our Nunu stronger? Like, remember, he gets all the heart stacks, right? He's actually just like giga juking this guy. We almost beat him with like a Nunu 1. Oh yeah, I'm going to mention this again. Where's our Annie 2? Where's our Echo? Where's our Alistair? Just take one look at my board. This is a challenger game. This is a prismatic lobby, and this is stable. This is stable. You don't really need much with this build, and that's what I love about it so much. You don't need to turbo high roll, and it's just very, very consistent. Like the other game, we got Taliyah too early, right? But that's because we had Rich Get Richer. This game, we don't even have 1-star forecast of any of the important guys. We're running Cho'Gath 1, Lee Sin 1, Annie 1 as our front line. Like, that's just not a real front line. But we finally do get this Raka. We're going to sell the Yuumi. We need this Alistair for mascot. I probably trolled a little bit by selling the Yuumi. It was probably a little premature, but we're just going to probably double Shojin. Kind of call it a day from there. Yeah, but this game, the one mistake was Urgot. Oh, we do have Alistair. Never mind. It was Urgot just to use all these swords, but it's all good. Like, mistakes do happen. And we are facing Samira 2, Belveth 2, Riven 2, Senna 2, Alistair 2. So he doesn't have like the big tank yet, but his backline is very solid. And he's got like really good items on his Samira. We do end up taking a decent loss here, but like we actually cleaned up pretty nicely. Like 2 of his units were very low health. This easily could have been a 2-unit loss. Perhaps if our items were a little better, we could have won that fight too. Because remember, we have like all these swords. We have like a dead 2 item components on our bench right now. So we definitely, a lot of people are like, oh, what do I do when I get horrible items? Well, like you can still make stuff happen. Like we're already 6th place right now. We're probably going to get at least a 5th here based on what's cooking right now. But just slam the items on the Raka. We finally got a Raka 2. No Echo yet, but you just make do, you know, you make do. We built the laser core emblem. I don't know why. Like we're never playing 3 laser core. Maybe I should have just saved the item just in case there's a really good component on carousel or something. This guy is Double Trouble Kaisa, so that's a little scary, but luckily he doesn't have Kaisa 3 yet. It's 5-2. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. Kaisa is a hit or miss comp, but we're able to kind of sneak by and get a 5th like that. I'm pretty sure we just donkey every turn though, because we're low and like we're just looking for literally anything. Hearts really need strong frontline because they love long fights. And if we do get a long fight, this Zoe just gives our team infinite AP, but it's just really unlucky that this specific game, we don't have like any strong tanks. And also remember how I said before, Nunu, he really loves having a strong front line, but this game we just don't have it. So obviously we're not going to win this game, but we still did really decently. Like bad items, not great units, and we're still beating a lot of people. And like look at the health total. We snuck into like 2nd place health total just like that. On this carousel, hopefully we had a tank item. Maybe if there's a Nunu here, we'd take it and just donkey roll, pray for the Nunu. But it's probably like the redemption here, maybe a static shiv, maybe we already have a Sunfire, right? Yeah, so we don't need that. But yeah, just redemption. This guy's got Viego 3, so yeah, we're definitely not winning this game. The AP comp is good. It's not that good, you know? There's a Cho'Gath 2 if we want it. We probably don't want it. And then we get a Sedge 2. You just play whatever you get sometimes. Like, you want it to be Echo, but it just doesn't happen some days. So we're just going to try to Shroud someone. Man, just pray we don't hit the Sec guy. And there's a 50-50 based on the matchups, based on my scouting. Try to put Sejuani in front of their carry, so I probably want her on the left because that's where the Samira was. So we're going to do a quick swap like that. Don't ask me why my Zoe's there, but we get a nice Shroud here. And then I think this is enough to get us a 3rd or something like that. Again, like this other guy, he isn't even that weak. He's got the Samira 2 really early on, Belveth 2 with Oxforce, and like RFC. He has the Curse Crown. He's got the Augment for Aphelios. Like facing a Curse Crown Ghost, that's like not what you want to do at all. But we end up taking a 3rd there. That's really good. It's stage 5-6. We get a pair of Alistairs. We get our first Echo. No Syndra. Syndra definitely does buff up the comp a lot. We could have faced either player. We end up queuing into the Viego 3. I wonder how we would have done against the Kaisa 3. I'm actually not too sure, but do I really need to say it? Like, there's no chance we're beating this guy. And so just like that, we end up dying out. It's okay. Maybe Syndra would have helped us. Maybe some games, you know, you get the random Nunu 2 or something like that. But yeah, 3rd place, not bad at all for this game based on our items and stuff. For the last game, we have 2 choices of games. So I have one that's a Spellslinger game, and I have one that's another Heart game. But in the Heart game, I went Zoomies with Heart Crown, then Heart Crest. I feel like that's a little boring because we got like 2 Heart Augments when we're like playing Hearts. We also get a Nunu 2 that game. So we're going to do the Spellslinger game because there's also the Lux Augment that we end up taking, and I feel like it's harder to fit Lux in the build. So I feel like there's a bit more to learn here. We do get the blue buff start so that you guys can also see the power of getting it early. We get a bunch of random gold, so we just buy the units in our shop. And then here, it's a very hard decision. The Poppy Augment's pretty good. Poppy Augments are just really broken. It just sucks that you have to run a Poppy to have them, but like this one is, it pretty much gives you a Turbo Locket for your whole team. We all know how good Locket already is. And yeah, like giving it to your whole team for like most of the stages is obviously really, really good. But I end up taking the Lux one. You could really go either way. I'm actually not sure which one is better there. But we're just going to blue buff the Lulu here because this is a Lux support one. It gives a shield and AP to 2 units next to her, or the closest 2. So that ended up being Lulu and Poppy in this case. But we're just going to run with it. We don't really have any great synergy, so we're probably not going to win these early rounds, which is fine. It's not the end of the world, right? And just keep in mind, like, look at the players in this game. We got a lot of top players in here. So if the build works here, it's going to hopefully work in your games as well. And yeah, that's kind of just the story of the day. But we end up losing here. Perfectly fine. We get a 1 unit loss. That's really all we can ask for. We natty a good upgrade there. We also get 2 threat units. Rammus is like one of the best early game units. They need to nerf his 1-star. I'm actually down to buff his 3-star, but nerf his 1-star. But we face a Ionic, Gangplank, level 2, Blitzcrank, level 2. We really just have the Nunu, but we do have the threat, so we should clean up pretty nicely here. After that big bomb from the Rammus. You guys see what I mean, right? Like, this game shouldn't be that close because I mean, his team's so much stronger than ours, right? But we take a 2-unit loss there, and like maybe the fight RNG happens a different way. Maybe we sneak in even a 1-unit loss, you know? We get a God Shop here, Rel 2, Lux 2. Honestly, the Rel isn't that big of an upgrade. Obviously, you still get it, but we have to drop the Cho'Gath for that, so it's a little awkward. We also don't have Defender yet, but you know what? I'm not going to complain about getting a 2-cost 2-star. Make sure to put the Lux buff on your strong units. So our 2-star units are the Lulu and the Rel. So you always want to buff up your upgrades because, I mean, they're upgrades. I don't really know what else to say there. There are a lot of like weird interactions with TFT, and people ask me like why you do certain things, but sometimes you just don't know how to explain them. Like, how do you tell someone 1 + 1 = 2? It just is, right? Like, I'm sure there's like a mathematical proof or whatever, but like, I'm not going to bother with that. Let's pre-level here, get higher leveling odds. We already have all our 1-cost units upgraded, so we're just looking for more expensive stuff now. Since we already have blue buff, like, yeah, you could go for second blue buff, right? But we have the chain vest, so it's just a belt and then get a Sunfire cape. This specific turn is really tricky because there are a lot of different units we could kind of play. I end up doing the Star Guardian because who are our 2 stars? It's Rel, it's Lulu, and it's Lux. So you want to play around those. So if there's a way to get a synergy for those units, such as Star Guardian works for both of them, that's going to be the ideal play. It's definitely going to be stronger than the LeBlanc. So we're facing off against a Locket Duelist. Pretty scary stuff. He's got Get Paid though, so it's not really a combat augment. We probably should have buffed up our Rel with the shield and the bonus AP, but we end up giving it to our Kaisa. It's probably not the end of the world, but I think I actually should have buffed up the Rel. So move the Kaisa to the right 1 square or 2 squares, and then move the Rel on the left side next to the Lulu. We also grabbed the Cho'Gath pair. Also, like, Nyla just better than this Kaisa, right? Cho'Gath can easily stabilize you in stage 3 as a 2-star. Sometimes you just natural the upgrade, and that's why you just hold on to it. Like, maybe you could sell it for interest. He's not like a Rammus, for example. Like, Rammus is, I definitely would hold, but I believe I do end up selling it here. But if you hold on to it and lose interest, I feel like that's a fine play. I wouldn't really fault you for it. I think I actually did end up selling them here. I kind of forgot what happened this game, but this was a really close fight. We take a 1-unit loss because for some reason, like, yeah, Talon's just like too OP early game, and then we just sell it up to 12 gold. So this next shop, we get a Wukong for Defender, so that's pretty good. We get a Negatron and a bow. Not what we're looking for. Oh my god, another bow. So 2 items in a row, we get item screwed. That's actually good because, again, I don't want people complaining about like, oh, I only get bad items and that's why I lose, because that's really not why you lose most of the time. It's you don't know how to manage the items. Let's check the admin though. We are going to have combat start, attack damage, unkilled, 20 permanent health, and then every 5 seconds your team gains health. It's probably just one of the health gain ones. I don't really think it matters that much. I think since we're dying a lot, it probably should be the right one because we don't have like a strong board. We're not going to kill that many things. So I'm pretty sure it's the right one, but it really doesn't matter. They're really close. And I end up picking the middle one, but honestly, it's not going to affect the game that much. We face someone with 2 Dravens. Holy cow. He's got Draven carry augment. He's got 4 Dravens already, level 5, 50 gold. This guy's in a really good spot, or 40 gold, same thing, you know? Holy cow, because he gets gold whenever he kills stuff. That's why he has so much. He's in a really, really good spot, so we have to be careful. So normally here, you just auto-take the Star Guardian crest, but because we have so many unbuildable items, you kind of have to take the component grab bag. Also, getting the Rel doesn't really help us out that much, so here, even though you would normally go Star Guardian crest, in this specific situation, you have to take the grab bag because we just need to build these crappy items. So we get exactly that. We get a ZZ Rod and an Ionic Spark. That's exactly what you want to do. I make a mistake here. I build ZZ Rod on the Rel. It should be on the Wukong. Can you guys figure out why? It's pretty simple. The reason why you want the ZZ Rod on the Wukong is because you want your main tank, the Rel, to hold extra main tank items. So you may notice we have a Chain on our bench. Chain does not build any like hybrid damage item like Belt does. Belt could build Guard Breaker, right? But with the Chain, it has to be Bramble Vest or Stone Plate. Those are the only 2 buildable items in the comp that's left, and that means you want to fit that all 3 items on your main tank. ZZ Rod's kind of like a fake tank item, so you put it on your fake tanks, like the Wukong here. You don't want to put it on your main tank, because when we get a Bramble off a Carousel, we're just going to have to Bramble the Wukong, and that's just much less value than on the Rel. We end up selling part of our bench to make 30 here. And yeah, you just want to prepare for the level 7 spike. We don't really care that much about our stage 3, so just prepare for 4-1 level 7, and you'll be good to go in most games. We get Shrouded here, that hurts a little bit. This guy's contesting us. He's going to go Jeweled Gauntlet, Re-Energize, really strong combo. It's funny because Wukong is better in AP comps than Lux because of Re-Energize. And yeah, it's just like a really broken augment, but you know what? Even if we're contested, it's not the end of the world. I'm kind of glad I picked this game now because we got that double bow drop and we're also being contested, and it's a one cost augment. That's like, people find the one cost augments a little hard to play around, so it's just overall good stuff. We want the tank item here, so we get the Negatron cloak because this chain, there's only one item it's turning into. I lied. There are only 2 items it's turning into. Gargoyle Stoneplate or Bramble Vest. And here's exactly what I mean. I can't build the Stoneplate on my Rel, which is a big tragedy. I have to put it on my Wukong. In fact, you see me malding about it right now by just like clicking my Rel and just swirling it around. Even if we end up winning all these stage 3 rounds, it still potentially could affect placements because maybe we could have hit people for harder. Like, she would have gotten so much value off that Stoneplate right here. She's surrounded by like 3 different people, and she's just a better tank unit than a Wukong. And look at how low these guys are. This Nyla just heals them all the way up, and potentially we could have even won this round instead of taking 8 damage here. So it's just these tiny mistakes that could sometimes add up. This guy has a pretty interesting combo. He's got a Silas augment, but he also has Ludens. I wonder what he's trying to do. But again, like, losing a lot of Stoneplate value, it's not the end of the world. I'll stop complaining about it. Our Lulu's not really going to clean up anything here because this guy jumped behind us. But maybe the Zizirot helped out a tiny bit. But we're able to take like a pretty doable loss. Well, it really sucks. The 2 Talons lived with like 1 HP. I know there's Oxforce and stuff, but they had the buff wear off and still lived. On 3-7, we just get a glove, so that's not good. We have a Last Whisper on our bench. But we got to level up and roll now, so we're playing the level 7 lottery. It's just a little too late to play Viego at this point. Our augments are really, like, I guess you could give up on the Lux, but our items, we have a blue buff. It's not really the game for it, but we're just rolling down for the same bullcrap that we always play for. There's a Sona, we sell this Lulu, and then try to fit in this Alistair maybe. Wait, we don't have Annie yet. Holy cow, I didn't even realize that. So I guess this is just our board for now. Do not want to hacker anyone in, and then we blue buff Sona and kind of just chill. Only 1 item Sona. Let's see how she does. We're against the, what's his name? The Draven player. It's a little scary, but Draven's not as strong now as he was in stage 3. And we have Defender. He doesn't have Last Whisper, so we actually destroy him right here. So that's really good. We kind of high rolled the matchmaking here because I'm sure other people rolled down, but he actually cleaned up pretty nicely. It's only a 4 unit loss when it could have been maybe a 6. For these augments, it's just Spellslinger. It could be Stand United, but we don't have any of the trait bots. And since we have the Lux augment, we have to play Lux. And Lux forces you into a Star Guardian Spellslinger build, so you don't get that much value from Stand United. If I had maybe Spellslinger Crest earlier instead of the component thing, maybe you go for the Stand United. But in this case, it's pretty clear, easy decision for me. By the way, like, I know I like 2 stars, but Annie is just so much better than Rel. Rel is just like a garbage donkey unit. But since Annie's 1 star, we'll itemize the Echo for now. I'm actually not sure if that's the right play or not, because we also want the Spellslinger emblem on Echo. And a lot of people don't know how strong this combo is. Just look at the shields Echo's about to build out. Also, save the Stoneplate. That's going to go on like our Annie later on. But look at the shield he's getting. It's actually just massive. I feel like it's just the best holder for Spellslinger. He just becomes like infinitely tankier with that AP. And he's still doing like the Spellslinger fling thing that just really gets a lot of value because he lives for so long. We could take a look at the damage charts after this. Like, we obviously lose this and whatnot, but look at that. Like, pretty solid damage from a tank unit. He's keeping up like past the LeBlanc. Like, I get it. Like, he has a bunch of items, but it's still pretty impressive to me. I wouldn't say we're in like the best spot here, but like, again, the Sona just really stabilizes the board. We have no 2-star tanks. We just have a lot of backline again. I don't know why that happens. Like, some games I get like only frontline units. Some games I only get backline units. The games we saw today, we just get only backline, but It's all good. Like, as long as you have the Ox Force there, it kind of buys a bunch of time for them. So we have the bow and the glove. We could go JG, Giant Slayer, second ZZ Rot. It honestly might be the second ZZ Rot here over the sword. It's actually a tough call because Giant Slayer, it's a slammable item, but on Sona, it doesn't do that much because she like heals and stuns most of the time. But it's still pretty solid. It's still takeable. Remember how I said the items don't really matter? This is one prime example of that. You just want to kill the items that are hard to build around. You could also put it on LeBlanc, but since LeBlanc doesn't have the blue buff, I don't want to stack them. You always want to stack the same champion with items because the stats multiply in TFT a lot of times. So getting more multiplication is just pretty much always better. But we're facing a very similar board. This is a Spellslinger guy as well. He's got Annie 2, he's got Sona 2. Overall, he's just stronger than us, so he does end up beating us. But again, the loss isn't that bad. We're at 47 life right now. I don't think we like turbo streaked at any point in the game, right? So here we face a guy with Sedge 2, Belveth 2, Viego 1, Ionic Spark. We're not going to do well this game, right? But some people, they get really strong boards. It's fine. He's got 10 gold. We have 40. We're going to spike at level 5. And after we take this loss, we'll be around like low 30-ish HP, which is more than doable because as long as we hit any decent board, we should be able to slowly bleed out. We get a Toma Traits, which is really, really big. I guess Star Guardian or Heart. Probably Star Guardian here because we're going more for the Lux build. And we also get a Jeweled Gauntlet drop or like something extra here. But it's probably just a Jeweled Gauntlet because we just need those people. So we get the Taliyah. Let's level up and roll. Don't swap the items yet. Do not commit the cardinal sin. I guess Star Guardian Sona, that's probably the best option. I'm taking too long to do this. I need to just roll. And it's just 100% Sona. I don't even know why I'm thinking so long. I guess that's why. I wanted the Jeweled Gauntlet on Sona. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I should roll here, and I just like took too long. It's okay. Wasn't going to hit anyways because you're not realistically going to hit Taliyah 2, but maybe I could have hit Alistair 2. That was really the only upgrade I could have hit there. Drop the tier on Alistair, make him heal a little faster. He healed there. Is that a tier diff? I don't really know. Then he got healed up by Sona. We're against the Draven 3. We face this guy pretty much every single round, but Draven 3, everybody. He does beat us. Wait, no. LeBlanc actually cleans. Holy cow. Is that a Star Guardian LeBlanc diff? Look at the damage on the right-hand side. This LeBlanc actually did her fair share. But isn't that crazy? Our 3-cost carries are beating the 3-star 2-cost. And we look at our front line. We just have Annie 2. But yeah, we get Taliyah 2. We sell her. Drop the items over onto her. I'm guessing like this game, based on how hard this LeBlanc smurfed, maybe we should have itemized the LeBlanc. If you think about it, like we're running 6 Spellslinger, 5 Star Guardian. Like I get it, Taliyah has those traits, but a LeBlanc has like, she could get Hacker and stuff. She could get her other thing, Admin as well. And maybe that just kind of multiplies more if I was able to fit in more stuff. But I guess we'll try to do that in another game because obviously I can't like go back in time and replay this game. It's kind of just instinctual to just itemize your Taliyah. I'm not saying it's like better or worse. It's just something to always consider. You always have to consider options in TFT. A lot of people just like play the same thing every single time, and that's just not the right way to play. Syndra over Yuumi for sure. We get a Sona 2. We really just need frontline. The Fiddle would be really nice because we have a Syndra, but getting like Sona 2 is pretty big. I guess I could have sold Alistair, but Alistair 2 is pretty big also. Even though he's a useless unit, I feel like at 1-star, sometimes he doesn't get his heal off, but 2-star, he almost always does. Yeah, this Taliyah is cleaning up pretty nicely with the blue buff. Again, a lot of people trash on the blue buff. They're like, oh, like, it's always Shojin because this streamer says it's all... Like, no, it's not. You could build blue buff on her. Like, I learned this from, I believe, Kyun. Very early in the set, he's like, I actually think blue buff is best in slot Taliyah. Let's just pick up another blue here because we have the Star Guardian thing. So we could drop that on LeBlanc. And the reason why it's so good is because sometimes, especially with the Jeweled Gauntlet, you just one-tap people, right? So you only care about her first cast. You don't really care about her second cast. So with that in mind, you just want to have her cast as soon as possible. And in order to do that, blue buff's the best item for that. So that's why people like that. And that's why it performs really well too. We're going to swap the items onto the the Sona. If you did the other one, like, I guess I can't really fault you for it. If you did LeBlanc over Sona, they're kind of the same thing. We get Heart with Sona, but I don't know how much Heart's actually doing. But I guess if we need more frontline, Sona's a bit better because she heals people. And the other person just doesn't. The LeBlanc, it's just damage. But damage is good because we have 6 spell slingers, so it's probably the same thing. You probably don't need to stress too much about it. I guess if you have a Shojin, do LeBlanc. If you have a blue buff, do Sona. That's really all I can kind of guess from that. But we're able to beat this guy. We're 18 life right now. Pretty low, but we did hit our board, so we're kind of chilling. Keep in mind, we were contested this game, and that just meant our front line's harder to hit. We did get the Taliyah pretty easily, but again, like, only one other person's going for it. Whenever you're going for Samira, like 3 people are going for it, or you're going for Set, like 4 people are going for it. That's why we're stuck 1-star Echo a lot of the times, and that's why sometimes people just itemize their Annie, because she's just easier to keep throughout the game. But if you're trying to cap out for like a first, it's definitely Echo. We almost get Zephyred there. I actually scouted pretty well for this, and it's a Draven 3 guy again. We don't have a good angle on our Taliyah, but as long as we kill his front line really quickly, and Syndra's also pretty good into the Draven matchup, we're able to just 5v1 gang up on him, and then the Oxforce did a lot of work there. If we get 1 CC on him, either with Sona or Janna, it should be enough. And oh no, we actually just barely don't do it there. I think actually our Taliyah was supposed to cast one more time, and it just didn't happen. All right, so I guess you have a lot of options here. It might be like Giant Slayer or Shiv. Maybe our Echo's dying and we want the magic pen a little longer. So it could be Shiv, it could be GS, because a bunch of people just got a bunch of 3-star upgrades. Honestly, you could go in any direction. Vow is even not bad. I don't really think the item decision making makes a big difference this game. Roll down, get Alistair. We have another Syndra if we want it. Probably will just play this Urgot for now, and then once the round ends, we'll sell the Urgot, buy the Syndra, just in case we get a Syndra 2 randomly. But here's a Vayne player. He's a duelist, so we're not that scared. What's scary is that his Yasuo just walked right to my Taliyah, but luckily she one-taps him. That's what I mean. Like the blue buff, the Yasuo didn't even get a chance to cast, and maybe that's a blue buff diff. Maybe it's a Shojin. Shojin would have done the same thing maybe. It's hard to tell, but we're able to beat this guy. Like, duelists aren't that scary at this point in the game, so we're just chilling. And then we're just going to sell this Urgot, buy the Syndra. A lot of people don't know you could do that. They think that you can't sell if Syndra does that. And because we did that play, we get rewarded. We get the Syndra 2. Syndra 2 is not that much better than Syndra 1, but I mean, you still take it because it's still a lot of shielding. Like, look at the big shield on that Echo. It's pretty much the same as a Spellslinger Echo shield from what I remember. But we're facing the, what is this, the Viego guy? I'm actually not even sure, but I mean, he has Viego, but maybe he isn't itemized. I actually don't know what this guy's running. He's running a bunch of random stuff, but we're able to pretty much handedly take on his team, put him to 1 life, so that's really close. And just like that, we're in 3rd place right now with 5 people remaining. It's looking like a top 4 in like 90% of cases right now. Just donkey roll for this Echo because it's the biggest upgrade in the world. But there is a debate. Sometimes you don't want to roll too hard when you have a Syndra because sometimes she throws a ton of units in. And in those cases, you want to be able to like guarantee the Echo being thrown in first and then either roll down or like pick up some of these other units. And here it's just like the Draven guy again. If we have Echo 2, do we beat him? I personally think so, because this fight is just so close and we end up getting knocked out there, but we end up getting a 3rd, so that's pretty good. If we beat this guy on the other play, we probably would have gotten 2nd, because honestly, like, our Taliyah should have casted again that time. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I hope this AP guide kind of helps you. Like, you don't need to get 1st place. Like, it's not a 1st place comp. What ends up happening is there are 2.5 set Samira players every single game. There's going to be 1 MF set player, and there's going to be like 1 reroll player, and not all of them are going to hit. One of them's going to hit, and they're going to win out the game. But that doesn't mean you can't collect 3rd places. That doesn't mean you can't collect 5th places in low roll games. If you guys watched my stream the other day, I took like 5th, 5th, 5th on all AP in all low roll games, but then I got like a 2nd, and overall that's positive LP. What I love about this comp is the consistency, because you could always build a playable board on stage 4-1, and that's where a lot of players, like, they bleed out. I can't count how many games I've had where I'm like 100 HP in stage 3-7, and then starting stage 4, I just lose 5 games in a row, and then all of a sudden I'm like 20 HP. This comp is great at avoiding that. But let me know down in the comments how this comp is going to work out for you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys learned more about playing off meta. You don't always have to play set. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's only set meta, this game sucks or whatever, and I'm just not even playing that. Sometimes it's best to take the road less traveled by.